walleye. I'm up here throwing a CrushCity Mare swim bait up shallow for walleyes. And I don't know if it's a pike, it's massive, but I have a feeling it's a muskie. Could be either or, but I cannot even move this thing. We're in like 10 feet of water. I was throwing actually on a little shallow rock spine that comes up to 6-7 feet. Catching walleyes, catching smallmouth. I got thumped and I thought it was gonna be a giant walleye. It's a pike and it's a good one. Not a big pike guy, but I'm used to the little snot rocket jig stealing kind, not the ones that have shoulders. It'll be a miracle if I get this on the first. I knew that was gonna happen. If I could get him on the first grab or if he was gonna run and try to break my rod over the edge of the boat. Holy smokes. Fun little bonus bycatch. Throwing a big, not a big swim bait, a 3-inch swim bait. It just thumped it, and when I set the hook, man, I'm like 28-inch walleye. And then, things got power, dude. I'm gonna grab him by the tail like a freaking tuna. Keep his head up so we can't run again. Oh, oh, oh. I have his tail like a tuna. Look at the size of that thing, dude. Holy smokes. Ridiculous. I gotta get a better hold on him before he flops. Look at that swim bait. Good hook set, man. Or that thing would have been gone in a second. I don't know if I'm allowed to show that tungsten yet. Okay. Swim baits catch everything confirmed. Let's get her back. Oh. We're gonna get very wet. Oh, yeah. Jeez, that was cool. Whew. That was cool. Fish. Man, that cast, I just bombed it out probably 90 feet, let it sink for a couple seconds, and I was maybe one crank into it, maybe, and bonk. It was a fish, and that's one of the cool things about swim baits, man. You don't need forward-facing sonar, and you fish better without using it with it. When you're trying to cast at specific marks and stuff, I can't do it with swim baits. I mean, not like some of those other finessey things you just let sit there. There's another one right behind it. Oh my gosh. Was it? Oh my gosh, is that cool. But with the swim bait, you're better off just fan casting, covering water, hitting those aggressive fish, and boom. I can't believe there was one chasing it in. Oh, right in the top of the snoot at an awkward position, sorry. Got that 1/4 ounce tungsten moon eye paired with a 3-inch Mare swim bait, and we are just bombing it out over shallow structure. It's maybe 6, 7, 8 feet on top, dips down to 14 feet here, and just slow rolling it and crossing paths with these fish. They're just cruising all over. There's tons of fish up here, but they're not wadded up in tight schools. It reminds me of when we're fishing in the summertime. You got jigging wrap fish, you got fish that you should be bottom bouncing. When they're spread out along there, you're not gonna throw a jigging wrap and catch one, and then go 100 yards and catch one. If they're scattered, you wanna cover water. Swim bait, same thing. So we've got these little nomadic pods, 2 here, 3 there, 1 here, just scattered all over along this edge and this flat, and just hitting them with a swim bait, covering water. Dude, love it, man. To start talking, what? Okay, so there's a perfect example of play with your jigging cadence. I'm sitting here, I cast out, I'm reeling. It's a big smallie, I think. I heard a jump, I didn't see it. And I completely stop and I'm blabbing, and all of a sudden, bonk. So on the pause, it is a small. Here comes a jump, here comes a jump. It must be a good one. Here we go. Yeah, baby. Dude, I don't care where you're fishing. You're throwing swim baits, you're catching everything that swims. Giant pike, smallmouth, walleyes, largemouth. It can all be on the same dang spot. That's the cool thing with a swim bait, is it's so versatile. Because it just looks like bait fish, man. That's a big smallie too. Oh, if I can grab them. Look at the size of that smallmouth. Look at the babies. We're gonna let this thing go quick, but it absolutely demolished that on the drop as I'm blabbing, not paying attention. That was cool. Oh, it's heavy for how short it is. Look at the baby maker on that. So it's time for a new plastic. Got a nice little mixed bag on that first one already with that big pike. Put some end of life gashes in it. So I just want to show you a little trick for rigging these up, making sure that they're straight. First thing I do is I line that jig up on there, and I put my thumbnail right where that hook should come out so that it's straight. Get a little nick in the plastic, just a little poke, a little tear, so you know if you put that bait through there and that's where you poke out, it's going to be perfectly straight on that jig, and you're going to get the best possible action out of your bait. And these new tungsten moon eyes, and yeah, I wasn't sure if I was allowed to talk about these yet, but one of the fish catchingest jigs in the world, the VMC moon eye, neon moon eye jig, now has a tungsten version. This one has a broadhead keeper. You've never seen a keeper like that, I bet. And that actually helps to rig the bait straight. It's designed to shoot straight down that bait, not get big bulges in the plastic. So we're just gonna go right in through the middle. Poke her down. Look for where you tore that up right there. So right there is where I want that hook point to come out. And before I slide her up there, you don't have to do this, but one little drop of super glue, that was way too much. A little less than that before you snug that plastic up there. And man, you only have to put a new one on there after you've caught your fair share of fish. But the tungsten moon eye, this is a 1/4 ounce, pairs just perfectly on these CrushCity mares. This is a 3-inch CrushCity mare. They got a little smaller version. They've also got a bigger 4-inch. 3-inch is just a great all-around size. There's lots of swim baits on the market, but this thing has a couple of really critical little things about it that makes it super fishy. And that is, any swim bait has a paddle tail and will kick, right? But this thing not only has the paddle tail kick, it also has this body shimmy. So while that thing is dancing in the back, you also have that little belly roll, that little shimmy, which just looks so nasty in the water and natural. A little too much super glue, like I said. And also with these things being, it's like the perfect mix of soft yet strong enough. That's always been a struggle with swim baits. If you get those really soft ones so you can get action when it's slow, they last one fish. If they're super stiff and you can catch a bunch of fish on it, you don't get action out of that unless you're really ripping and moving that bait. This is the perfect balance to me, where you can literally fish it so slow that on the drop, even on an 1/8 ounce jig head, when this thing's only falling this fast, you're still getting that tail to kick. There's still action. That's super important. You don't have to fish it super fast to get that roll and to get that paddle. But it's also durable enough to catch more than one fish on. The colors are awesome. Right now I'm using a perch. I mean, if you're fishing clear water, anything that looks like a perch or a shiner, money, right? But it also has some of those bright, gaudy colors, because there are days, if it's gloomy out, overcast, or more of a reaction bite when you're doing more of the snap jigging, and you want that bait just kind of flying past their face and them to pounce on it, then you can start getting into those like chartreuse and whites and stuff. But this is just a really natural looking color that they are crushing today. That one ate it on the fall. We're playing a little name that species game. Is it a bass? Is it a pike? Is it a walleye? It's acting like a walleye, which makes me extra happy. Although I don't discriminate on species. Oh yeah, should we boat flip them? Yeah, baby. Another toothy critter hooked in the top shelf where Grandma hides the peanut butter. That one ate it on the fall. Killed that bait, let it drop straight down. Bonk. It doesn't get any better than that. So I'm just throwing this on a 7/6 medium light fast. A little bit longer rod just for bomb casts. You don't have to buy a swim bait specific rod to throw a swim bait. But I like that little bit longer rod and a medium light fast. So you have plenty of backbone. But for me personally, I like that softer tip of a medium light for those times where I'm kind of slow rolling and they just kind of mush up. I mean, sometimes they'll come up and just demolish a swim bait, almost slackline it. Those are the days we all dream of. But depending on how you're fishing them and the type of day, the type of bite, sometimes you're just slow rolling it and it just kind of starts to mush up, and then I lean back into them. Just a great all-around rod. And then a 10-pound Sufix braid. I do about an 8-foot fluorocarbon leader. I usually bump it up a little bit with swim baits, 10-pound fluorocarbon leader, depending what I'm doing. Because sometimes I want to be slow rolling that bait down by bottom. You got zebra mussels, you got rocks, you got pike, whatever, 10-pound. Just lets you fish a little longer before retying, like with 8. But it depends how you're fishing it too. If you're sort of heat of the summer, throwing it with a heavier head, ripping in cabbage weeds and stuff, throw a 12 or 14-pound fluorocarbon leader on there when you're really doing the snaps. But right now, this 10-pound is perfect for just these kind of subtle pops, hops, lifts, slow roll. Oh, something bumped it right there. I'm a little bit jumpy, okay? Leave me alone. I'm getting followed right now. Yes! Dude, that was cool. That one came flying up, followed it for a second, and then I sped up a couple cranks and he popped it. We'll take him. We'll take him. It was just cool the way he popped up and smoked it on the little hesitation. He came flying up. I'm like, oh yeah, for sure. And then I saw him following it and just did like went from a steady retrieve to like a couple quick ones, slowed down. So fun, man. But yeah, for swim baits, I mean, you can fish them anywhere and everywhere. For me, I like fishing them kind of edges of flats and on flats, covering water. Depends on the time of year though, you know? It's such a great search bait for covering water and coming across active fish. You can fish it so fast. It can be windy. You don't have to worry about feeling it, you know, and getting that big bow in your line and whatever. It can be 4-foot whitecaps. If you're just doing a slow, steady retrieve, your rod tip will just start to mush up and then you can pick up the pace and lean into them. So it's great when it's blowing, when it's gassing. But I mean, I catch fish on bright, sunshiny days throwing it too. But these big feeding flats, and I don't care what time of year it is, I get out towards the edge to where that main first drop off is from it, and I kind of start there. Start on that outside edge, and then work my way in if I'm not catching fish. Some days they're up on top, sometimes in the morning they're on top, and in the afternoon or midday, they get out towards that edge. But just such a versatile bait for covering water. It catches everything that swims, and it's one of those baits, it does not matter if it's May, July, October, you have to have in your boat, you have to have tied on. And then you just play around with, you know, whether it's an 1/8 ounce head or a 1/2 ounce, a 3-inch swim bait or a 4-inch. And you can cover all the bases and literally catch fish all year round. So we've seen a few fish actually eat on forward-facing sonar today. But most of the time with a swim bait, I'm not staring at that screen like I am with a Ned rig or with a jig and a crawler or whatever, jig and wrap. It's still the forward-facing sonar is still a great tool to throw with a swim bait, because you're looking around and seeing those pods of fish, seeing the rock, seeing the drop off, the little dip from 4 to 6 or 6 to 8 feet. seeing weed clumps, like you still using it, you know you're in a fishy area, you're around fish, you're around that right kind of structure, the right kind of cover, but you don't necessarily have to watch every fish eat on it, and I think you're almost better off not trying to stay glued on it and following your bait, but just knowing you're in the general area of where you want to be. And then when you cast, more so paying attention to how you're working that bait, if you're kissing bottom, if you're up, if you're killing it, whatever. But it is also fun when you do line them up, like let's say you got a pod ahead of you or a school, and you line it up and you're casting right at them and you're watching them eat on there. I mean, a swim bait's a big profile to show up on forward facing, and tungsten heads, I mean, denser, harder metal, they just show up great on there. But don't let not having forward facing stop you from throwing a swim bait. Absolutely. It's like if there was one bait out there for walleyes where you don't need it and you're almost better off without it, I mean, it's a swim bait. Because you're just covering water, you're getting reaction bites, you're just putting your bait in front of a lot more fish, and then the next thing you know, boom, you're hooked up. Dude, that was nice. That thing just demolished it.
Hold on.
It's tagged. Dude, that thing came up and demolished it, and guess what? We got ourselves, you can't even see that bait, a double tagged walleye. And man, that little 3-inch CrushCity mare with tungsten moon eye just gets it done, man. Look at that. Look at that. I'm gonna real quick, like, she's been on there a while, peel this off so I can get the numbers off of it. 405301. Let me make sure it's not a different number on the other tag. 405300. And 19 inches long. We're gonna let that go. We'll give the DNR that information on the tags, tell them where we caught it, what area of the lake, the date, and they'll hit us back up with any historical data that they have from that fish, the day it was tagged, how long it was at that time, and any other people who have caught it between now and then. It's super cool. They give you a little certificate, has a little map that shows you, where that fish has been caught and where it was originally tagged. And when I get that back, I'll try to do a little follow-up. Or it's two of them, but I'm getting harassed right now. Oh, yes. Man, was that a cool eat. Oh. Can I talk? Can I talk? I don't know. That was just such a cool eat. I was slow rolling it and had two fish following it. These were ones I was actually watching on forward facing, and they wasn't eating, so I started doing pumps, letting that bait rise and fall. Man, swim bait walleyes, dude, I don't care what time of year it is, May, July, October, they eat it all year long. It's one of those baits that it doesn't matter when and where I'm walleye fishing. Give me that back. Give me that back. I will always have one tied on. Bye. Waving bye.